Yo, this is KD,
And this is David.
and we are the K&D Exchange, where we exchange music, and as a result, we exchange ideas, bridging the gap between old and new, with all original music produced by. Enjoy. Yo, welcome back to the K&D Exchange. We are on exchange number 32. I am your co-host, KD, alongside my other co-host, David. David, what's new with the crew? And with
Just all good, man. Nothing really new. Just out here surviving. How about yourself?
you? Yeah, all good, man. I'm allergically reacting to something, and I don't know what it is. That's
Your
the worst
own
thing.
love for a certain drizzy, I think. Your body's purging you.
Oh, man. I am not a Drake stan. Do not lump me in with them people, man.
You are, mate.
Do not do it.
His nuts are slapping off your chin right now.
Anyways, I ain't got time for this shit. I only woke up like an hour ago. So yeah. But yeah. Anyways. All right. For returning listeners, thank you very much for supporting the show. And by the time this episode comes out, David's solo review, the debut solo review, would have gone up. Is that right? Yeah, because it's been up already. So we're also doing a separate segment called the K&D Extras, where we take it in turns each week to do a solo review on an album that we hold dear to us, or that we just want to really deep dive into and discuss. We do that on our one. So David's already done one for Slipknot's self-titled. That's their debut, I'm guessing?
Correct. Yeah, mate.
Yeah. So that came out on Thursday. These will come out on Thursday, while the exchanges come out on Tuesday. So yeah, thank you for everyone who's been supporting so far, and we hope you enjoy those as well. For those who are new, for these segments, the exchanges, how it works is that we give each other an album each week. We alternate who gives who an album, and it's usually we give the other person an album that they haven't heard before. And so we're coming in from two different perspectives each week. One of us coming in familiar with the album we're talking about, and the other person is coming in completely fresh, having not heard it before. And then we alternate that. So this week, David gave me an album to listen to. David, which album did you give me to listen to?
Cypress Hills, Temples of Boom.
Temples of Boom.
Yeah, mate. Released on the 27th of October, 1995. So it's celebrating, oh my goodness, what's that, 26 years?
Yeah, man.
27 years this year.
27 years.
26, 27. I don't know. Maths. I can't maths good. But anyway, it's a long old time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, Cypress Hill, classic kind of hip hop group, kind of staples of the 90s.
Yeah.
Kind of rap.
Yeah, they were really weird, in the sense that nobody had B Real's voice, I guess, and the aesthetic was kind of real different. They were big without being big. They kind of towed that really fine line. They weren't in your face like, you know what I mean, like Tupac or Snoop or anyone like that. Yeah. But they weren't, like, everyone knew who they were. So they had some kind of cultural clout. You know, with their, you know, rapping of basically being gangsters, weed heads, and, you know, party goers. That's basically, that's Cypress Hill.
Right.
But the thing is, at the time they were cool. I used to think they were cool just because everybody thought they were cool. Like, oh, you heard Cypress Hill, like, they're cool. Yeah. It's like, yeah, they are. Like, some of the beats on this album are real good, real cool. But however, when it comes to like rapping ability and storytelling, I don't think they're the greatest, really. They're kind of like subdued hype men. But do you know what I mean? Like they're not like little John or something like yeah, like in your face,
yeah.
like, you know what I
They're
mean?
not
I'm
that in your
Lil
face,
Jon. Yeah, you know, they're not
yeah.
DMX, you know, right in your face. What they are is they're kind of like these kind of laid back storytellers, but they're kind of, I don't know. We'll get into it, but I found that this podcast has ruined my enjoyment of music, I think,
In what
because
way?
I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, I used to love this. No, I don't like it because they ain't saying nothing.
It's one of those things where, yeah, you kind of love something, and then once you have to show it to someone else or explain why, suddenly you're like, I mean, I guess it's good because of this, and because and you can't even quantify it anymore, and then you're like, actually, maybe I don't actually like it.
Yeah,
like you find someone attractive, and then you're like, oh, send them to the group chat. Like, yeah, they just don't have any good pictures. They're just
yeah. It's what's her name, Susan Boyle. And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to share that with the lads.
Yeah. Once you know something's going to be scrutinized that you love, it's like when you watch a movie. I don't know if you get this, but when I watch a movie with someone, and it's a movie that I love, I'm on edge throughout the whole movie, and I'm kind of side-eyeing their reactions. That I'm going to laugh at the right points. Are they looking at their phones right now? Are they like, oh, is this part of the movie actually going too slow? Like, are they not getting it? I always think everyone has the smallest attention span ever when they're watching a movie with me. I'm just on edge, like waiting for the movie to pick up, like every time. And I'm like, but people love this shit. Like, why?
And then at the end, you like turn to them and go, "Did you like it?"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's an all right movie, isn't it? Yeah. What did you think? And then you wait for them to just be like, yeah, fucking loved it, man. It's like, yeah, man, me too. Fucking love that shit. That's why I said. That's why I gave it to you. You gauge it on their response first. Like, yeah, it was all right. I remember watching 8 Mile with my friends and showing it to them. I'm pretty sure both of them were just on their phones most of the time, and then they just kind of turned around at the end when like Lose Yourself came on, and they were just like, oh, yeah, it was a good film. I was like, bro, were you even watching it? But yeah, that just had me on edge the whole time. Oh, man,
I saw that in cinemas, man. I remember that. It was a
Shit.
good experience, man. It was the first time that I'd really ever seen. What's the actor who plays the Free World guy? Anthony Mackie. And then like when he became the Falcon in the MCU, I was like, this guy, man, I don't like this. I don't like him. But no, he's all right.
It was hard at the beginning to disassociate him from.
It's all I could see. That young boy, like he's
from Clarence.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Clarence's parents had a real good
marriage. But yeah, man.
I went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Because I know something about you. Oh no, sorry, I did that the wrong way around. But yeah, all right. So. Speaking of Eminem and old school and 90s, Cypress Hill. Wow. I've tried to get in Cypress Hill. I liked some of their songs, and I know they're big ones because they have a kind of cult following.
They definitely do.
They definitely have that classic status about them. And I always try and listen to their first album. I get like 2 or 3 songs in, and then always something is. I'm so easily distracted when I listen to that album, which kind of doesn't bode well for it. So if I'm trying to listen to an album and I get 2 or 3 songs in, same with like TV shows or movies. If I'm so easily just looking at my phone or walking out and being like, oh, don't worry, catch me up on it. I'm clearly not that fully invested in it yet.
Exactly.
Or something hasn't caught me. Yeah. It's the same with albums as well. So with their first album, I try and do it when I'm cleaning up.
That's
I've got nothing else to do.
Self-titled one, isn't it?
Self-titled,
That's made in 1991. That's 30 years old. Blimey.
Yeah, 91. That's like a really. Maybe that's. And to be honest, I don't know if it just sounds dated or I'm just not into it.
There'll be that.
Yeah. Whereas this, when I listen to the first Cypress Hill album, I'm always like, oh, okay, this is not what I was expecting. I mean, I kind of was, but it's not hitting me for some reason. I thought I would like them. They feel like a group from what I've heard that I would like if I listened to a whole album.
He's like, I should like them.
I should like them, and I should
Yeah.
like the album, surely. Or is it just, are they just a group or, an artist that only like a couple of songs from, then you go and listen to the album and you're like, oh, okay, doesn't carry throughout a whole body of work. This one, though, kind of, maybe this is where I should have started. I haven't heard Black Sunday. I think that's the second album.
Real good. I think there's songs like Dr. Green Thumb on there, A to the K. Like, there are some. A to the K. It's one of my. I absolutely love some of the tunes on Black Sunday. Really
maybe
good album.
I should have started there. Yeah, maybe I should have started there because it feels like it's like a darker sound. I mean, the front cover looks really dark, right?
Yeah, it's I haven't listened to Black Sunday in a very long time.
Right, yeah.
But I do remember it's very much in the same vein as this album. I found there's a lot of crossover and overlap. So you would think that some of the songs you could get the albums mixed up. They're very much in their bag, but Black Sunday's well worth your time, well worth a listen. I think
I'm gonna go back to that one because this one, I really enjoyed listening to this, because it also embodies that kind of 90s sound very nicely, and I think I don't know if you get this, but with the season we're kind of going into, like autumn, winter time, I feel like this kind of 90s hip hop, complements it really nicely. And I don't know if that's for me because I associate kind of really going back and listening to a lot of stuff from the 90s when I was going to uni, and it would always be when I start uni again, which would be around this time of the year. Yeah. So I before I went to uni, I did my research as well. So I'd gone back and listened to Biggie and Wu-Tang and all that sort of stuff. But then it kept, the learning didn't stop there. I would still keep going. And usually what it would be actually is Christmas time. Whenever people would ask me what I want for Christmas, or at least my parents, I would just give them a list of albums that I wanted because I would get the CDs for them. And I would just give them a list and say, just get whatever your budget is that you're going to do, for anyone, for anyone's gifts, just get as many of these that will fit in whatever budget, that you've got for Christmas presents, whatever. I don't care. Yeah. Just if I get some of these, cool. And there was a lot of kind of old school ones that I was trying to fill out my collection with. So if I had Low End Theory, it's like, okay, I need the other 2 Tribe albums as well. So I put those on the list. If I had 4 Tupac albums and one was missing, even if I didn't even like it that much or didn't care about it that much, it's like, okay, I need to complete the collection.
You're a completionist, yeah.
Oh, 100%, man. And it's not good. Well, it's not always good.
I hear you.
Yeah, it can be really irritating as well as satisfying when it's actually works, when something does get complete. Very satisfying, but then in other senses, it's really not. But yeah, I just love collecting stuff, man.
Oh, fair play, man. No, I do agree with what you were saying about the aesthetic of the album. Like, I only listened to this album at night.
That's
when
how
I first listened to it. And it used to be real late night. Like, I used to study quite late at uni, so So I used to listen to this album. This 07, 4 Hero, like, I think they were my staples, really. RJD2, guys like that. So
yeah. Studying late at night and just
listening to stoner music,
listening to stuff. Yeah,
actually, no, I'd probably finished studying and I was just blazing my face off.
Sure,
probably. Oh, the good old days. Anyway, carefree. Shall we get into this bad boy? Because do you know what? Like, it's quite funny. There are some tunes on this album that I can remember, that I can quote the hell out of. Right?
Oh, is it?
But the opening of this of the album is something that always has stuck with me. Just the low, so it's lo-fi hip hop before lo-fi came into existence. It's so far ahead of its time.
100%. Like, DJ Muggs is such a good producer, and he's kind of gone into the more minimalist Griselda sound that's prominent, or Rock Marciano sound. It's more prominent now. But these beats have some like real knock to them. I think that he did every track except for one, which the RZA did.
He did the. Oh my goodness, RZA did.
Killer Hill.
Yeah,
that was
track 5. Yeah,
it was fresh hearing the RZA rap. Every time he raps, it's just not boring.
It's really not boring. He's a fantastic rapper, isn't he? He's just, especially on the beat. Yeah, especially on that beat as well. It's just him. It's like Wu-Tang, isn't it? That's what that is.
Sounds classic Wu-Tang. That's what it is. Yeah. And I've been on a heavy nostalgia trip recently. I don't know why. And it comes in waves. And so hearing the RZA on that kind of beat, it's like, man, I remember when this stuff was fresh to me, and that used to really blow my mind. And when you kind of wish you could go back and erase an experience so that you could have the experience again.
100%.
Yeah. Listening to Wu-Tang for the first time is one of those that I wish I could go back and just listen to their first album again, fresh for the first time, and have that same feeling of, wow.
I wasn't ready.
I didn't know music like this could exist and sound so good.
But so varied.
Yeah.
Because there were so many of them.
Yeah.
I
can't keep up with some rap crews now, like with some of the members, when there are big groups like that. Wu-Tang was special because it was like every member was a solid MC in their own right.
So solid.
Yeah.
So solid.
100% compared to, not just throw any hate on these guys, but like the ASAP mob. You have ASAP Rocky, ASAP Ferg. And then the other ones kind of are just in the background. Like they're just not given the same push. So you have like ASAP 12E, ASAP Nast, ASAP someone else. And their projects don't really come up heavy in rotation. They're not pushed as big. And you just have the two frontmen, which is Rocky and Ferg. Whereas with like Brockhampton, they're like 18 people in that group. And
I still haven't checked them out.
Yeah, they make like weird kind of music because, again, it's so varied because of how many people are in the group. And some of them aren't even on their first project. And then their second project, you see more of them because they have more room to kind of... They just made loads of songs and then just kind of put them together. And so there's so much variation between all their different albums. You can kind of pick one depending on your mood or your vibe. But I just don't know them individually because they become just a bunch of voices to me. Very different. I could distinguish every single artist. They all had their own character. And the sound, the Wu-Tang sound was so kind of solidified. But it still evolved. It still grew. Like Only Built for Cuban Links and Supreme Clientele don't sound like Enter the 36 Chambers. And yet they're all at least overseen by the RZA and follow the Wu-Tang sound, but they branch off into different variations of the Wu-Tang sound. So the soulfulness in Supreme Clientele and the orchestral kind of vibe in, or orchestral dirty kind of vibe in Raekwon's first album. You know, it's somehow, I didn't know there'd be that much variation in that. I thought it would just be those dirty drums and dirty piano samples and whatever else, you know.
I always think of whenever anyone says Wu-Tang and pianos, Cream always just comes to the fore in my head. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so
commercial.
Good,
I know it is commercial, and I know people. So you're not saying like any of the other good ones. I know,
but Cream's so fucking good. Like
he's so good. And what's the other one with the?
Fuck?
I can't remember what it's called. Bring the Ruckus. It starts off.
Bring the Ruckus, the first song. Yeah.
Is it actually called Bring the Ruckus?
Mm-hmm.
When it's got the so bring the motherfucking ruckus and that sick beat. Oh, it is that, and it starts off with Ghostface. Oh my goodness.
What was it? Ghost. Oh, Ghost. Yeah, because he's the first voice you hear.
He's the first voice, and he
Ghostface. Got from my hype verse, I did worse. Leaving a hearse, I did worse. I come through, fine like Egyptian tusk. Oh shit. God, Wu-Tang got the. I can't remember what he exactly said, but he was just so smooth and nimble.
Yeah, man, and for real.
I had no idea what the fuck he was saying, but it just sounded so cool. Like, oh man, what a guy.
It's actually called Bring the. I thought it was called something else. I love that. That
was the first song on 36 Chambers.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I went down. I started watching when it came out in like 2016 or whatever. Luke Cage, the Marvel thing.
Yeah, they
and,
had those songs in it.
And that brought me back. So
Yeah.
there's this bit where he basically walks into a building and it's like full of gangsters and that. And there must be about like 20, 30 people. He just walks in there to that tune and just, just wrecks stuff. Yeah. And then I was, after that, I went back and I listened to all of Wu-Tang. But anyway. Yeah, man. Anyways. So this album, let's go.
So this one, Cypress Hill. All right, let's jump in. Track by track. I mean, yeah, this was an enjoyable listen, definitely. Some songs I like less than others, but
yeah,
we'll get to that when we get there. Spark Another Hour's perfect opening song.
Yeah,
that vibe, that beat.
I got leaned to this so many times. Like it's the most perfect stoner song. Anyway,
it literally sounds like it, man.
Yeah,
and the fact that it's called Spark Another Hour, like,
oh yeah,
it's all in the title, man. There's not really much more to say about it. I mean, it's just about
body wind up. What your body wind up. I am going to be doing like really bad Be Real impressions like throughout this one.
That's calm, man.
Because
that's calm. I mean, I appreciated Be Real and Sendog much more listening to this album.
Sendog is I really like his. I've always liked his tone. I've always liked the way he raps, especially on Boom Biddy Bye Bye.
Oh yeah.
Sendog, like, give him more of the mic, man. He needs more of the mic. But anyway,
I forget about him so often.
I know.
Be Real.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Right. This is something. We'll get there. We'll get there later.
Okay. Cool. Throw Your Set in the Air. Classic. I mean, if you're into hip hop, you've most likely heard this song.
Throw your set in the air.
Yeah. And classic. Wave them like you just don't. Yeah. Gang shit. It's just
basically.
Yeah. And that din in the background. Classic Cypress Hill kind of 90s sound. Stoned Raiders. That whole listening to it at nighttime, I get that because that beat is so weird and eerie.
It's haunting, isn't it? Yeah.
It's haunting. It fits the album cover so nicely. It's got that that kind of misty iciness in the air.
Yeah. It's Indiana Jones music.
Right. That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of imagery that you get from it.
This is what I'd imagine Frodo would be listening to if they had iPods and they were on their way to fucking what's the place called?
Mordor.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Just to get himself.
What are you listening to? I'm listening to Cypress Hill.
Just to get himself in the mood. You can see the tower in the distance with the eye,
like bobbing along.
He's just trying to get himself hyped. And Sam's there, like, bro, we have not got time for this shit.
Like, we're starving. Like, we're dying out here.
Yeah, and we have to climb up that fucking volcano or whatever it is.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Throw your set in the air. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Goodness. Fuck this shit. Yeah, I can do this. I am a stoned raider. But yeah.
When he drops the ring into the
Yeah.
fire, he's just like, bomb, briddy, bye, bye.
That's his mic drop.
Yeah.
He's got it all planned out in his head. He's going to spit some bars at whoever comes at him and then throw the ring.
Step back as I'm kicking up dust for a while as I put motherfuckers to rest.
Oh, geez, man.
Oh, my goodness. Like, of all people, Frodo would be listening to Enya, not this. Oh, goodness.
Sometimes you need to get hyped, man.
Yeah, true. I can. Oh, thanks for that. I haven't laughed like that in flipping ages. I'm actually going to be, like, walking away, like, thinking about, like, later on tonight when I'm trying to go to sleep, I'll just be thinking of Frodo on road, just blasting out Cypress Hill. Sorry. Oh,
It's
I'm in control now.
yeah. It's because those films, when it gets to those parts where there's parts of that film, those films that are really kind of creepy or like eerie, where
Yeah.
you're just like, I'm so glad I don't live in a world like that. Like when they're being chased by the ring wraiths and they have to like hide every time they put the ring
For
on
real.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
in the
Just-
first one, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's like just freaks me out, man. And the music is so fitting for it. And then in the final ones, when they're going to Mordor, and you're just like, yeah, you're in like really dangerous territory here, and everything just looks smoky, dark. You've got that fucking eye that's looking around everywhere.
And the spider was.
Oh yeah, like wrapping him up, and
yeah. So he didn't even hit the deck, and that spider just spun him up.
Yeah.
Mate.
I feel
horrible.
so uncomfortable when they're dressed up in as orcs in their armor, and they just in this whole line of orcs just surrounded. There's no way out. If they get seen, that's it.
Yeah.
And those are not some friendly looking people, like, or things or whatever they are. But yeah, that's the vibe I get when I hear Stone Raiders. That beat, it's like, yeah, why would you willingly go into this? But Frodo has to, innit? So he accepts it. He bumps this shit. Probably lights one before he goes in.
They were like Gandalf has basically got weed in that film. So yeah,
that's
man,
why he's
probably.
Yeah. He just randomly disappears every now and then.
Yeah, Gandalf would listen to this. Spark another owl.
That's why Frodo listens to it, because Gandalf told him.
Good point.
Yeah, that's what he's bumping in the whip, or in the horse whip, when they leave or whatever. Yeah, Gandalf's bumping some Cypress Hill, man.
Yeah, 100%. Gandalf would 100%.
I think he'd get with it, with the ethos of it.
I think that he's down. Yeah, man. The thing is as well, though, like Cypress Hill, while we joke about them being stoners, like these guys have done some street level stuff.
Exactly.
And Gandalf is kind of like that.
And Gandalf can relate. Bilbo Baggins can relate. These guys went and raided a fucking tomb or whatever it was.
They kill lots and lots of people. We think they're heroes. No, Gandalf is a murderer.
They did some dirt. Man.
For real.
They did some street shit. They're on some gang shit. Like, they're literally a gang. As in,
real.
There was a group of them. 12 of them or 10 of them who went to go raid, what's his name? Smorg's fucking thing. Those are the ops, man. They're the ops.
Well, I'm with you.
For Smorg. Yeah.
That guy was an arsehole.
He was, yeah, but still, an op is an op. So it is what it is, man. So yeah, they're bumping some Cypress Hill on the way, 100%.
Yeah, man, I'm with you now. Cool. Anyway,
Gandalf was getting stoned on his way to the raid, 100%.
110%. He's just like, mate, this is stressful. I'm playing a game of chess against a massive eye thing. You know what? I need to get my lean on. Ain't 100%. No women that I can be, you know what I mean, trying it on with. I've been killing a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been doing dirt. I've seen some things.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna get lean.
You know what I mean?
Anyways, illusions.
I'm having illusions.
Yeah, classic. And also classic use of that little Indian thing at the beginning, which is standard for Buddha heads. So, but then the classic kind of jazz sample, I can't remember where it's from, but I've heard it so often. It's one of the samples that when you just listen to hip hop, after a while, you're just going to hear it
everywhere,
over and over, everywhere. Yeah, just like in Ad 2, there was that sample I said that has been used so much. This is one of those that you'll just hear everywhere. But yeah, illusions. I love this beat, but this is also why I don't smoke weed. So I don't want illusions, swimming in confusions, not knowing all this sort of shit. Although I don't know what kind of weed they're smoking, but Be Real sounds like the kind of guy who smoked a lot of weed, some of it probably laced with something else, as well as some other shit, but he's just not mentioning that in the song. And now it's standard for him to just get illusions and hallucinate. So yeah, but this was it. Regardless of that, it's a good tune. Classic kind of 90s stoner vibes. Killer Hill. This is the RZA one.
Oh, I love it.
You can tell it's a RZA beat. And like I said, I love the way RZA raps and all the different things that come in the back when he comes in. And then U-God as well. He's such an underrated member of the Wu-Tang. But him and Master Killer, they just didn't get their shine, unfortunately, alongside the rest of the crew. But it is what it is. So yeah, that's a good tune. And then the one you just mentioned, Boom Biddy Bye Bye, Frodo's catchphrase. This kind of jazzy type production. I love this beat. Again, I'm pretty sure I've heard this sample before. And again, perfect for the season we're heading into as well. I love this kind of sound for this kind of darker, colder, wintry weather.
This is one of my favorite tunes.
I love this one, 100%. And it's weird. It sounds nice. Like, oh, I can play this, and the beat is making me think of, the winter vibes, or the autumn vibes, and whatever, because it's just got that chill, airy sound to it. It's weird though, because content-wise, they're just about to kill someone, like straight up. They're just talking straight up to someone, saying, they are just going to kill him. That's basically the whole song. But I guess that does tie in with the iciness and the winter feeling of it, because it speaks to the kind of cold, harsher nature of their environments, which is, again, reflected in the music, which is weird because the music sounds kind of pleasant, I guess, but still cold, still harsh.
Definitely cold, yeah.
Yeah. No Rest for the Wicked. I only realized on my second listen through that this was, I didn't know about, actually, I think I did know about Cypress Hill versus Ice Cube, like that beef. But who's brave enough to go against Ice Cube like that, especially in his prime? That's what I'd want to know. But I didn't know that they accused him of biting for the Friday soundtrack. I didn't realize that he did that. I didn't realize that they accused him of that, and I didn't realize that they had beef with him as a result of that. But that's cool. Regardless, it's a hard diss track. Make a Move. I can't stand the use of that Pulp Fiction sample anymore.
Oh, the path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the whatever. Yeah. It's so cliche, man. It's so cliche, annoying.
It's so overused, and it's just, let's be edgy, man. Let's sample Pulp Fiction. Although this was back in the 90s, so I guess it might have been fresh then. But
Pulp Fiction was what, 93, 94? So this would have been, a year or two old at that point.
Yeah, it's just I hear it now and I'm just like, ugh, okay.
Yeah,
but regardless, classic Cypress Hill sound again. So I'm this is like back-to-back hitters for me right now. Content-wise, beats-wise. I think the next one is the one where it's like, okay, this one's okay, which is California. I love the sampled strings. And it's funny, I mentioned Only Built for Cuban Links earlier. That kind of beat, I know it's by Muggs and not by RZA, but it reminds me of that album. Because when I listened to that album for the first time and I noticed that change in production style from RZA, and I back then when I was really researching a lot of this stuff, I would I would read up on it and stuff like that. So I was really interested in the Wu-Tang and especially RZA and his production styles and how he started and how he would make the beats or whatever. And he was sampling more orchestral stuff, more heavy string stuff, and utilizing that. And you can hear it in the second Wu-Tang album too. It kind of gave me that feeling, the kind of cut up strings or whatever. It's very, very Raekwon-esque. But overall, it just wasn't holding my attention like that. The next song, though, Funk Freakers. I love this beat. Classic flexing song.
Such a good bass line.
Yeah, it's so minimal, the beat, But yeah, I feel like in these 90s hip hop songs, the bass is just really, the bass lines can be just really full front and center and simplistic, but sometimes it's just the raw nature of it just sounds so good. And it's not like mixed to perfection in a technical sense, like in a pop sense. That's why you wouldn't necessarily, when it comes to hip hop, you don't always want to give your tune to like a pop engineer who's mixed and mastered massive pop hits or commercial hits, because it can suck the life out of a hip hop song. Songs like this don't need the, not to get too technical, but it doesn't need the bass to be filtered down at this many kilohertz, in order to make space for the snare and the kick or whatever. It actually sounds good when it's a bit muddied and there's the kick and the bass are just happening at the same time, because it just gives it that raw kind of feel, that raw energy, and you can kind of feel it when it hits. It gives it that knock feel. Sometimes when a mix is too perfect, or when a song sounds too polished and clean, it sounds good. It can sound like ear candy, but sometimes it just sounds it can be a bit lifeless, at least for me personally. Dr. Dre always felt like struck that balance of having these beautiful mixes, which just sounded so big and so good, but still retained that hip hop sound, that low kind of low end body and that bottom end and everything like that. But yeah, Funk Freakers, good tune. I don't know how to say this one. Locotes,
I thought.
Locotes, yeah, sounds like a Spanish word. Yeah, story about two guys who just steal from people. They escape the police, but then when they're finally on the road to freedom, or at least on a bus to freedom, one of them just gets shot by a homeless guy because he just gets into a fight with him. So after all that, his story ends anyway, being shot by a homeless guy, not even being arrested by the police or anything like that. And it's a cool switch up content wise from the rest of the album, which is a bit mainly kind of flexing and just street shit or whatever. I mean, this is still street shit, but or weed shit, but this is still street shit, but in a storytelling way, which is good. Yeah,
it's so hood though, isn't it? Like,
it's so, yeah, you can really envision it.
Yeah, it's one of those where you're sort of like rundown. You're in this like rundown tenements, and like you're just, what I mean, late night kind of shooting stuff, gangster shit. Like,
yeah.
But I do wonder if we have a if Be Real really did that stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is there like hyperbole there? I don't know. Like, is he as gangster as that? Because then if he is, like, why are you making music? Why aren't you in jail? Like, you know what I mean? Because he threatens people with death like quite a lot. But anyway,
maybe he's been around it. It could be that. Because yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes when rappers talk about the stuff they did, I always just assume, okay, it's just the kind of culture we live in where it's art, or it's just music and it's not necessarily taken seriously. Although it has been a thing recently where, especially in the UK, where artists are being sanctioned because of their lyrics and taken to court, and lyrics being used as evidence. And even it did happen in the US as well. And people always say things like, why are these rappers snitching on themselves or whatever? But, sometimes they are just telling their stories. Although if you are going to be really specific about the stories you tell, then that is a bit like, you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird thing to do. Or it's a bit of it's a short-sighted thing to do. It might have felt good in the moment, but you weren't thinking about if the song pops off and people listen and they're like, you're almost giving evidence for a case. I'm talking about if police listen to it, it's like you're kind of giving evidence for a case that we're working on. So of course we're going to take you to court. You've literally put that out in the open. Doesn't matter if there's a beat behind it. So it's a little bit short-sighted to do that. But in general, censoring lyrics and things like that, and taking rappers to court for that sort of stuff. And I can't remember who it was, someone from the UK who was, there was this one time to like this petition to kind of ban drill or put something on. And years ago, there was this thing about hip hop music. And I remember it used to really like irritate me, and the thought that they could just ban a genre of music was just such a slippery slope. Like, what's gonna happen now? How are you gonna ban certain forms of art like that? And it's just you're just basically, it's so short-sighted and closed-minded. And I can't remember which rapper it was from the UK who apparently had to run his music by the authorities or whoever because of a court mandate or something before he releases any of his music. And it's like, wow, really? I can't remember who it was or whether it got repealed or not, but I was like, nah, this is getting to stupid levels. Why aren't country artists being pulled up on this sort of shit? Why aren't other artists who talk about this sort of stuff? Why aren't people who make gangster movies caught up on this?
Correct,
sort of
yeah.
Like, it's just fucking ridiculous, man.
It might speak to a wider societal problem, maybe. Which I don't want to get into, but yeah, you're right. I mean, why is it a special rule for one and not a special rule for others? Why is it something that one group of people gets punished for and others don't? Like, we'll never know the answer to that. However, people who do bad stuff should get, punished for it.
Yeah.
It's the way it should be, and the way it's been, since time immemorial. But we'll see. We'll see.
Speaking of that,
go
I don't
on.
know if this will be. I mean, I feel like we're getting towards the end of the album breakdown anyway. But you see how R. Kelly has been charged.
Finally.
And it's not even just for ducking payments or anything like that. It's for the actual thing that we've all been trying to call him out on. Some people were asking on Twitter, should we ban his music as a result? What do you think about that? Are you on? Is this Zoom fucking up or are you on mute?
I keep trying. Yeah, I don't know why it's putting me on mute. Sorry. I was about to say
you look like you're spitting facts, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, there was a band in Wales, and they came out in like 2002, 2001. They were called Lost Prophets, right? And their first album was lit. But anyway, it came out that a few years later that basically the lead singer Ian Watkins was a depraved, like, paedophile. Basically, he was absolutely awful. Right. And the thing is, it still doesn't, like, for me, it still doesn't take the shine off the first album, because I don't think he was evil then. I think he's been corrupted. But yeah, it does. Like, I don't listen to them anymore because and it's such a shame as well, because there was about 6 or 7 of them. There's a lot of them, so a lot of musicians and that have now lost out on a livelihood just because of the actions of one.
Because of the one,
So I do think that it's very, sad that the abuses. So in Ian Watkins's case and also R. Kelly's case, that they've been allowed to sort of happen for as long as they did. Does their music and their contribution towards music and the overall culture deserve to be eradicated from, does it deserve to be cancelled? In an answer, fuck yes. You do horrible things. You need to be stricken from the record, because, one day humans will be among the stars and all of that. We'll be on different planets. You never know. We might find a wormhole somewhere and go to some amazing distant planet. But the problem is, like, we want to record the best people in history. So, like, a guy like Tesla or Einstein, people that really did, shape the world. And R. Kelly, sorry, mate, you were part of a musical dynasty for, good 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
But it's been known that you like minors, you hung outside of schools. When it comes to making a barometer for this music, I'll give you a barometer. Would I play R. Kelly's music to my kids? The answer is no. Sure. So does he deserve to be stricken from the record? I think so. And I know that's kind of Old Testament. But if it was proven that Michael Jackson was
I
like,
was going to ask that. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'd feel the same. As much as painful as that is, I would not play his music. I mean, R. Kelly's been on cancel. I haven't listened to an R. Kelly album since, is it Best of Both Worlds with Jay-Z? And I was like, this is one of the worst albums I've ever heard. So
yeah, I always hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the last one. I can't remember when that came out. But yeah, I mean, even at the time, I remember when I was younger, I had this feeling, and it's easy to say now that we've got all the facts and, now that R. Kelly's going down for it, but I always found that he was wrong and there was just something about him. And
like Birdman.
But R. Kelly's a bit more sinister than Birdman. Birdman, he sort of wears it. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you said previous episode. Yeah, Birdman was kind of more in your face, whereas R. Kelly's kind of insidious. He paints himself as this kind of respectable man, on the road. When he's in his, stage and stuff like that, he's very, this sexual being and stuff like that. And, when he's in his private...
Doesn't sit right. Yeah.
Yeah, and when he's in his privacy of his own home and you're hearing that, other girls were doing interviews and stuff like that, and he's coming in telling them what to say. I'm just like, he's a control freak. Like this guy, boy. Yeah. But let's just say, like, when he's in prison, some prisoner's going to put the key to his ignition.
I know.
But yeah, what do you think?
Well, yeah, because I was thinking about this, and I didn't know again if this would be a slippery slope, because so obviously personally I don't listen to him because it just kind of weirds me out hearing his voice. And also the thing is that his sexual stuff now is tied to this knowing what he was like into sexually behind closed doors. Ooh. So hearing that kind of stuff makes me just feel like, oh, is that what he was thinking about? And knowing that he wrote a song like I knew that he wrote "You Are Not Alone" for MJ.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what he wrote it about.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm glad MJ sang the song because I mean he's got his wife in the video and things like that, so I can see it being appropriated to kind of him hearing the song, being like, "Oh, I love the song, I love the sentiment," and then him singing it for his wife. But there's still this weird barrier that if R. Kelly sang that song and then knowing that he wrote it for a 12-year-old girl or whatever it was, or 12 or 30, it doesn't matter, right? It's in that kind of area. Then I'd be like, no, sorry. I don't know how I could sit here and go along with that, knowing that you were a 35-year-old man or whatever it was, and you were singing this about a 13-year-old girl.
There's a lot of that though in the industry though. I mean,
exactly right. It's weird.
It's accepted behavior almost. Like, listen, and this is another stick to beat. This is another stick to beat Drake up with. But why are you in like some 14-year-old girl's text messages? Like he was texting what's her name from Stranger
Millie
Things,
Bobby Brown.
That's the one. What self-respecting man does that? Are you related to me? No. Then I've got no business having a 14-year-old's phone number. That's not right. Like, that's not right. You shout them out on social media because it's not really that personal. Well, it is and it's not, right? It's not your phone number.
It's in front of everyone, right?
It's visible. And then you've got her being a giddy little girl going, "Oh my God, Drake loves me. Oh, it's so cool." Just like, no, why? Like, Drake, you ain't out there acting. You're not being in Stranger Things. Your music ain't featured on there. You got no connection to it. Why are you in? Like, that's not like, men don't do that. Okay, unless it's like a niece, a nephew, of cousin. There's some reason for me to have. If it was like my mate's kid or something like that. Yeah. Even then, I don't know if I'd have my mate's kids' numbers in my phone.
I'd have their numbers in my phone in case,
just in case, but
wouldn't necessarily be messaging them. Although, again, there's a whole range of different scenarios it could be. So it could just be like, I guess for Drake and her, yeah, I don't know whether there's something sinister, and he could just be a very naive, out of touch guy who's just trying to be really friendly, or he's trying to be, I don't know, he's trying to, again, this paints himself as the kind of nice, friendly guy. Because this is something I've realized that he that is annoying. What's annoying about Drake is that other rappers say some of the things that he says on his songs, but they don't claim to be these like super, I don't know, they don't claim to be nice guys or good guys or anything like that. They kind of wear their personalities on their sleeve, and you kind of see who they are through their music. With Drake, sometimes it feels a bit like he's putting a barrier up, because then when you then deep some of the lyrics he says, you're like, wow, that was really misogynistic. I thought this was the guy who made Best I Ever Had, or Nice for What, which was like the female empowerment anthem or whatever of 2018. But then you're talking about dating a stripper and then kicking her back to the curb once she does something to annoy you, like throwing her back to the ghetto or to the hood. Like, come on, man. That's just, what I thought you were the nice guy. I think you're on mute again. How does that keep happening?
What the seriously, man? Something's going on with my computer or something. Shit. Anyway, no, maybe I was going to say, I think I remember you telling me about that, and I was like, I just don't like this guy even more.
But yeah, so like, but in general, like going off of Drake or whatever, in general, I feel like, because we were talking about R. Kelly and we were talking about if his music should be eradicated. I read this article about how within the culture there is this what's the word? Hypocrisy when it comes to art.
Yeah.
So there's these things, like, I think you can tell that people classify certain things as low art and some things as high art.
Sure.
So music, for some reason, is considered a low art. And so when an artist does something that we deem reprehensible, it's trash their music. Don't play it on the radio. Don't even let other people listen to it. Take it off streaming services, which I think, I personally think that maybe we should let people decide personally if they want to listen to an artist, if they can do that whole separation thing in their head, between the art and the artist.
A person can be smart, KD. People are generally stupid.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but what I mean is, I'll expand on that one.
No, I'm just being sort of facetious. Ignore me, please.
Yeah. No, because because that made me think of something actually, which would be a point against mine. But yeah, so whereas when there are pieces of art or film that are made by reprehensible people, we don't tend to destroy the art or take it down or not let people view it. It stays there for some reason. There are, and I guess the distinction you can make with movies is that loads of people work on these movies, and so it's like, are we gonna take down a movie because one actor in it was not such a great guy in real life? What about all the other actors and actresses and film crew and sound design people and editors and directors who worked really hard on bringing that whole thing together? But then they had no idea that one of the main actors was, let's say, a pedophile. And they had no idea. Do all these people's like hard work suddenly have to be stricken from the record because of the one main actor? So I can see the distinction from movies. You could even say the same in some cases for music. Like if a producer works with an artist and crafts like a whole album for them, then it turns out that guy was a really bad guy, like he beat his wife or whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, we're just not going to let anyone listen to it. Like it won't even be on Spotify, it won't be on any streaming service. Everything will be taken from YouTube. And it's like, I don't know, could the argument be made for the producer? Like, is that fair on him? Does the good of that outweigh the bad? What is it like? Is it really as black and white as we really think it is? Because I can see the distinctions between, let's say, movies and music. The music might feel more personal, like that person is talking directly to you. But then are we expecting, at what level do we then stop? So at what level, I know I hate it when people say that in general, like, oh, it's all going crazy. Oh, where do we draw the line? I don't mean like that. I mean that if we're going to say what R. Kelly did was really, really bad, was terrible, it gives me it cringes me out when I think about listening to his music, because I know what kind of person he is. So I wouldn't personally listen to his music. But then I'm pretty sure I listen to hip hop artists who are murderers, who have done all kinds of things before in the past. Do we do we take their music off? I mean, what if they've changed from that into different people as they got older? Do we take away the music where they were when they were? Because you made that distinction about the Lost Prophets guy. You said, what's his name? Ian Watkins.
Yeah.
You said you don't think he was evil at the beginning. You think he got corrupted. So let's say if MJ actually was a pedophile, which I don't believe he was, do we take away his stuff even from when he was a kid? I mean, was he a pedophile then?
Yeah, exactly.
Feels like he was a completely different singer, right?
But this is muddy waters. Yeah, this is muddy waters, though. Not the artist, but the actual I don't think. Yeah, I don't think there is. While I do say, you should. R. Kelly doesn't deserve it. I think it's more passion, really. Being a father. I can't imagine what the parents of those poor women must be going through.
Yeah, and
it's kind of more in rage that I would say just get him off, sack him off. Yeah,
I understand.
The thing is, though, that does set a dangerous precedent, because then it might start off as like quite an altruistic reason, such as they're a paedophile, so we'll strike them from the record, or they're a murderer, we'll strike them from the record. But then the line will always keep on encroaching. Oh, they said that, they said something disparaging about gay people, or they said that
back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Or they had a couple of tweets and now we're banning them for what? It's like, actually, maybe that is like what I was saying about striking him from the record. Yes, I've said it in the moment, and but there are wider implications on the actual freedom of expression that are actually called into
and understanding about. I mean, it's different for R. Kelly. I think he has a problem, and it's deep rooted in him, right? And if you watch the documentary, you know where it comes from, because I think he was abused when he was young as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So while it's understandable, it doesn't suddenly make his actions any less worse or him less accountable for them, because then even that's its own rabbit hole of, well, how do we place blame on people who didn't choose to be, have the childhoods that they had, and therefore then became these people? Do you know what I mean? Because then you could even get into that. But I feel like, you're right about the precedent being set. I feel like sometimes things are a bit too black and white with certain things. So it's kind of, if we find out that someone has done something wrong, it's like, okay, the question is, are we expecting everyone to just be everyone who is in the spotlight, or everyone who is a musician to just be this perfect angel?
No, exactly.
And yes, I know realistically we're probably not, but sometimes it feels like there's such a wide spectrum. Obviously pedophilia is just like, no, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's a real sort of, you can't be okay with it and be a normal person, basically.
No, right. But is it okay for me but what if I found out that Snoop Dogg killed someone back in the day, which there are rumors of, that he went to court on a murder charge?
True. Yeah.
Should I not be weirded out by listening to this guy's music because he killed someone? That's pretty bad, right?
Do you know what, though? Like, I think that does definitely color your view. Like,
I don't know if he actually did or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, I know what kind of environment he was in when he was younger. It could have been out of necessity. We know how it is, especially for Black people in America, growing up in these, you could say, well, Jay-Z sold drugs to his community. Some people have said that about him. And like on Fox News
he said it about himself.
Yeah. But there are people, if you listen to this song by Pusha T called Drug Dealers Anonymous, Jay-Z's got a verse on there, which is sick. And just before the verse, they have this little clip of someone from one of these right-wing conservative American news channels. And she's like, she's getting at Beyonce because she's with someone who used to be a drug dealer.
Yeah.
You see that kind of connection that she's made to disparage Beyonce because her husband used to be a drug dealer.
Well, it's guilty by association. It's a great age-old
but
tactic.
Jay-Z's not a drug dealer anymore. He does a lot for the community, and he puts his money into a lot of positive things. But he couldn't back then. And the reason he is where he is now is by doing what he had to do back then in order to get there. So are we going to be like, no, I don't know. This guy, he contributed to the kind of injection of drugs and whatever into his community, which then ruined so many people's lives. He probably even gave cocaine and whatever to pregnant women who were addicts. And, you know, I wonder what the countless lives he may have ruined or contributed to ruining. We don't want anything to do with him in terms of our human history. Take his music off, destroy it. Can you imagine that happening? Because once you really like pull it out like that, you could say, well, there are people who could say, well, Jay-Z sold my mum drugs and now she's not here anymore because it fucked her up. And I had to watch that happen.
Yeah.
And it's like,
where does the line, well, we basically fall down to a rabbit hole. And it's very, very scary. You know, if we start going down this road, like where will it end? And it's kind of like, it's kind of like what we're seeing in the world anyway, you know, with, you know, if a country that has certain mandates in place, you know, or that you might be infringing on people's human right to actually choose. I think that's basically what we'd be in 1984 at that point if we're starting to strike Jay-Z's music from the record. You know what I mean? Like he was very much in the same respect as Robert Kelly, you know, a product of his environment. What else was he meant? But what else was he meant to do to survive, to eat?
Yeah,
he did the only thing he could, right? So instead of maybe focusing on the individual that's the wrong, and like society's the one that's sick that allowed this person, like society's failed by allowing this to
that kind
occur.
Of thing to happen.
So in actual, you know, fact, we could actually turn it to the policymakers in America and be like, well, you've made it impossible for people to live in some certain places.
Yep.
So what are you going to do about that?
Now, I don't want people to misconstrue this as us making a comparison between what Jay-Z
selling drugs
did and what R. Kelly, R. Kelly did, because I know that some people they'll do the straw man argument and be like, what, so you think that pedophilia and drug dealing are the same thing? So you think that R. Kelly is just in the eyes of his environment?
Yes, in the eyes of Batman, all crime is the same. Like everyone deserves broken bones and paralysis and stuff. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. Thanks for
Kelly,
that.
Yeah, R. Kelly didn't have to become a pedophile to survive, right? He was clearly failed in his childhood, and he became something that he maybe, if he was put in other circumstances, may have not become. That's not an excuse for him, right? I think people need to understand this. That's just adding context. That's understanding the full scope of it. Because then, once you understand the full scope and the context and the background, we can prevent it at the source in the future. Because then we start to realize, well, you know, how does this kind of thing happen? How does this thing get? How do we let people like this get away with it for so long? Okay, we can't change the past, but we can have some direct change on the future if we take some action, which could be making sure this sort of shit doesn't happen to kids in childhood. You know, again, like you said, sorting out the actual society and the environment. We have to acknowledge that yes, R. Kelly probably was a product of his environment, but that's not an excuse.
Yeah, it explains it, but it doesn't.
It explains it, but it's not an excuse. Now, also with the whole music thing, I personally find it weird if like we're at a bar and a DJ plays R. Kelly.
Oh, for real.
That feels like now, while I might be the kind of person who says, look, if you're on Spotify or on Apple Music or whatever, and you don't care, like you're just the kind of person who's just like, well, I can kind of tune R. Kelly out. I just love his music, or it's had such a big impact on my life. I just want to listen to it, and I can, you know, we shouldn't be telling everyone how to think as well. Some people can separate it and say, look, this is the art. Unfortunately, it was created by a pedophile, but this is the art, and I can still appreciate the art. Fine. You do that in your own time. If you don't want to, you can literally, on streaming services, you can actually block these artists so their songs don't come up like on shuffle or anything. I actually have R. Kelly blocked on Spotify, so his music won't come up. Not that it was ever really going to come up anyway, but playing it like at a bar or a club or something, it feels a bit too normalized. It feels a bit too celebratory. Like, you know,
it's a public endorsement.
Yeah,
it's like, it's fine.
Yeah, literally, that's different. That's different, because then that kind of feels like you're openly, or we are as a society openly saying, yeah, we'll you know, oh, we know R. Kelly's a pedophile, we know he's probably talking about some 12-year-old girls in this song, but oh well.
Yeah,
that says something different.
Not oh well, like it's not. I personally can't separate that. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm very much like I'm absolutely disgusted that his music, like, that he's done what he's done. Sorry, and that people can somehow try and defend him. I find it weird. Yeah. And like with Ian Watkins, I'm like, oh, it's such a shame, because I really like that first album. I will not listen to it like ever again. I just can't do it. Tried listening a few years ago, and I was like, nah, it feels wrong. Don't know.
Yeah. I
know so sod it. You know, it's look, up to people what they want to do, but don't support wrong uns.
Yeah.
Drake.
This is honestly, but something you brought up earlier, which felt like a point against something I was going to say, which was that when you said about people can make their own decisions, but they have to be smart. But a lot of people are just stupid. Right?
Yeah, a person can be smart, but a lot of people are stupid.
People are stupid. Because that made me think that actually, when you keep their music up and you play their music, obviously there's a very tiny amount of money that goes to the artist.
Exactly.
But if a lot of people do that in their own times, then you could make the argument that they're contributing, like they're giving money to this person, which then kind of endorses them and allows them to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Now, then that kind of again muddies the water again. So it's like, oh, okay, how do we fix that? Because surely we should keep people's freedom to be able to engage in certain things. Like, it's not like they're looking at child porn, that kind of thing is just, that shouldn't really be a freedom thing. That should just be a no, because you've exploited these kids, and it's just, why would you be looking at it? That kind of thing.
Oh,
right?
God. Yeah.
Or I don't know, just whatever. Music, I feel like it's not the same, even if it was made by unless they're writing songs where it's mudding the water again, where it's like they're explicitly advocating for pedophilia or like describing it in depth or something in the songs. I feel like that's a bit different. But I don't know, because R. Kelly kind of, we know in hindsight now what he was talking about in some of those songs. So it's like, okay, is that kind of the same thing? And then where does that money go to? But then shouldn't we allow people the freedom to kind of listen to whatever they want? And then at the same time, who decides exactly what's wrong enough for you to stop making music? Like, no one's, where does it go?
Where exactly? And this is the thing. I think that basically what has happened to society is that we have lost like our moral sort of center. Like the fact that we are asking these questions, like, what's going on? Like, hang on a minute. Let's just break it down. He did wrong. He's getting punished for it. He should be punished to the nth degree for what he's done. He shouldn't have any avenues to making any money at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Take him down, because he's proven, he's been enabled. This is the failure of the music industry and his team and his label and the people and his engineers, everybody around him. They all knew. There were interviews with people saying, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Because they don't want to implicate themselves.
And they're just like, well, I'm not going to deny what you're saying. And you're like, well, okay, by not confirming and not denying,
that's an admission of guilt.
You've just told me, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to be smart with their words, and people are just like, yeah, I know stuff and whatever. You should have You should be removed from society once you're like in jail, as in like, you know, your assets are frozen, all of that stuff, which has probably happened. He's probably been bleeding money because of his legal team and all that. Good.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I coming back to my original point, I do think that society is kind of like, we're in this kind of grey area. We don't have that kind of Old Testament, like black and white, like what's right and what's wrong. But I think in this case, when it comes to the abuse and the systematic abuse of women, children, and the sexualization of kids, like the fact that he was hanging, it was well known that he hung outside of schools, scouting for girls.
Yeah.
It's well known. This guy has a problem. He could have been dealt with then. We wouldn't be here now. Think of the amount of lives. Think of the amount of lives if somebody would have just turned around and said, hey, he married Aaliyah at 15 or whatever in a different state where it was legal. Okay. Yeah. Oh, his justification? Well, Elvis married his 14-year-old cousin like all them years ago. It doesn't hold water. Like,
it doesn't. Yeah.
We progress out here. I mean, it's thank goodness
also, she was his cousin.
I think so. Thank goodness for progression. Like, could you imagine, like, you know, back in the Middle Ages and that, it's just like, oh, you have a daughter. Ah, she's had her first bleed at 14. Ah, she's a woman now. Go and marry her. Off to some 40-year-old man. You know, thank goodness for progression. We shouldn't have that. Kids should not be sexualized in any way, shape, or form. So R. Kelly should definitely feel the full force of society going, no, mate, you're done. Because that is not how you get along. And people that helped him out and all that, you're culpable too. Like anyone that 100%. Enabled him, you're culpable. You should be punished as well. Like it's there is no way in which I would be happy to be in a like part of a world that would allow that to slide. I can't let it slide.
Yeah, I agree.
So you know what I mean. Anyway,
so that's the thing. Yeah, see, I feel like I would. The thing is, I also have this other layer which I'm not privy to, which is I wasn't necessarily like the hugest R. Kelly fan, anyway. So for me, it's like a handful of songs that I just don't listen to anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'm good. I can strip him from my life. I wonder what it would be like if it was an art, like, and again, it's not a justification for any of his actions or anything, but I'm just thinking about if there was an artist that I was really into. So let's say if I fully believed that MJ was a pedophile, I wonder if I would sit here and say, you know what, I disagree with this guy as a human being, but the music has too much of value or something to me.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
I mean? I wonder if I would. I don't know that because although there was a time when I first contemplated the question,
I thought he was, and I stopped listening for a long old time. I really did. I didn't play. I because there is such a specter of doubt in my mind. Like you can't be sure one way or the other. There's a massive specter of doubt. I don't usually play a lot of songs to my kids, and that for me breaks my heart because. Right. Michael Jackson was a massive hero of mine, but there's too much of a grey area, and we don't know if he's innocent or not. We know that through the legal, system, he also paid off Jordan. There are arguments for and against. I do lean towards that he wasn't.
That paying off Jordan Chandler one, though, we can discuss that one at some point.
We will. No, but
that's actually not as strong as argument as people think it is.
Absolutely, and I remember when we spoke about it in Babylon. When you were basically like, hey man, it's X, Y, and Z, like this, that, and the other. I was like, are you for real? And then I went and checked it.
I remember, you were like, it was like your life opened up again.
Yeah. No, it real talk, because I was like, I was really happy about that. Michael Jackson was a huge sort of a huge factor in my childhood. In fact, my mum went in the loft the other day. She found the bad vinyl. I mean, that is burned in my brain. I can still see it. Yeah, loved it, But like there was a long old time. Like, I know what I'm like when it comes to like safeguarding our children, for example. I'm pretty militant when it comes to that, And I always it's to the point where I'm like, well, I'm militant. Why isn't everybody else like this?
That's what I mean. Like people will have a different reaction to this kind of thing. Because even then, that's another aspect which I've changed. Because for me, I'm thinking just for myself. I'm not even thinking about kids. See, I wonder if I had kids, then maybe I might be like, yeah, okay, I don't even want to expose them to people like this.
Correct.
But for myself personally, You know, they have, you know, my kids haven't had this attachment to this particular artist growing up. I get to kind of dictate that in a sense. So I can remove this person from their childhood for the good. But for me, I've already grown up having this value attached to it. You know, the music reminds me of my dad or my brothers and that time back then and all that sort of stuff. So I wonder how I would necessarily maneuver that. You know, would I start to do the separation thing? Would my mind even be able to do that? Some people can, some people can't. Is one better than the other? You know, there's so many different kind of, as many personalities and unique human beings there are in the world, there are going to be unique ways of kind of dealing and thinking with things and processing things. So some people don't think about the music as heavily as we do necessarily. Sometimes it might be different for hip hop music, because some people might just hear a singer as just part of the music. Their voice is just part of the music. They don't care about that person. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas in hip hop, it's like, oh, bruv, you're telling me about your life and I know that you are this person. So I just can't, you're really making me fucking, like, you're making my skin crawl when I listen to you. I can't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the reaction that I haven't listened to R. Kelly really, but I know some of his like songs, and when I think about them, I cringe even now. Like the world, same. You know, when he's singing like, "I'm the star up in the sky, I'm the mountain way up high, I'm untouchable. Hey, I made it. Like you can't touch me. I'm the world's greatest." Like. And like things start taking on a more sinister turn. I'm like, hang on a minute, he was telling us
literally saying I'm untouchable. Yeah,
that's what he's saying. Not this, you know, like Muhammad Ali's like the greatest, like, because in the late 90s there was like a huge revival of Muhammad Ali. I think he did he do that? Was it the 94 Atlanta Olympics that he did the Olympic torch for? And then after that, like, it was massively in the zeitgeist. And they also did I think it was like 20 or 30 year memorial of the Rumble in the Jungle, for example, and Thriller in Manila and things like that. And so Ali was hugely in the zeitgeist then. The Fugees did a tune with Busta Rhymes, and I can't remember what it's called, but I can hear it, and it was I loved it. And then you had like the world's greatest, and that was because, or was that because of the Will Smith film Ali?
It could have been,
which is probably one of Will Smith's best films, by the way.
That's a really good film.
I thought he was fantastic. But I just love the fact that he was telling us basically that all that time.
Do you know what's funny? Because people make that comparison with other artists, right? And you know, they always bring up MJ and R. Kelly in the same discussion, but actually, and they'll say, you know, MJ made these big songs about, making him seem like this really great guy or whatever. Maybe it was the same thing. But actually, when I really deep it, someone like R. Kelly was saying, I'm the world's greatest. You know, I'm the star up high. I'm on the mountain, like you can't climb, or something like that. Basically saying he's untouchable. I actually don't. MJ made songs like Heal the World, Keep the Faith, Will You Be There?
Keep the Faith and Will You Be There?
But these songs weren't about him. They were, and if they were introspective, personal, I'm not perfect songs. And they were about everyone doing their part. Completely different.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
He's actually saying, I'm part of you and we all need to do this together an Earth song as well. He wasn't saying, I am this. The only time he ever really, I remember him off the top of my head, him really doing that was as a reaction to his critics. So on a song like Unbreakable, you know, where he's saying, you can't break that was more, you can't break my spirit. And he'd been through a lot. He could have, MJ had the right to flex after Thriller. He went until Invincible saying, I'm unbreakable. You can't break my spirit. I have achieved so much.
if ever there was a person that had earned the right to flex.
Right. I mean, it's like Eminem. Eminem only started really, really flexing and saying, I am actually worth my salt in like Marshall Mathers LP too. And even in his most recent stuff, now he actually talks about like how he's got loads of money. Why would he give a shit what you say? But he could have been saying that since like 2000, the year like 2000, 2001. This guy's more than the right to do a bit of money flexing, to do a bit of kind of, I am better than you flexing. You can't say shit to me. R. Kelly, it's a different thing, right? He was saying, I'm untouchable. You can't really reach me. It's just, it's a strange one, man. Like, yeah. And I don't know if coming from hip hop makes me feel like, well, I've had to do a lot of knowing that some of these people are bad people and have done bad things.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? You've got wannabe gangsters and you've got actual gangsters, and you got like wannabe like street people, and like, for example, Ja Rule never struck me as the kind of person that he thought he was. Like, I think he did actually. You can tell when someone's real and someone's not, right?
Yeah.
Someone like Scarface, for example, has seen some stuff, and I bought his kind of redemptive arc, like from street to whatever. But yeah, it is. This is a really, really strange one. To be fair. Yeah,
do you remember that Simpsons episode where Marge gets annoyed at the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon because Maggie like hits Homer over the head with a hammer because she saw it in the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon? This is like one of the early seasons, season 2, season 3, and it's a really good episode because then they start picketing outside the Itchy and Scratchy, whatever it is, the production building, and she goes on TV shows, like talk shows and stuff, with the person who's created Itchy and Scratchy, and she's saying, you know, this cartoon's a bad influence on kids, and this and that, and she gets like the whole movement behind it, and then she then becomes a consultant on the show, and
I do remember this, bro.
She starts to clean it, so they call her and they'll ask her for advice, and she's like, "Well, why can't Itchy, instead of cutting off Scratchy's head, offer him like a glass of lemonade or something?" And then like the next episode that comes out is like this really boring, lame kind of them offering lemonade to each other and just being nice to each other, and the kids just don't care about it anymore. And then this statue from Italy, like D'Angelo's David or something, where he's like basically naked except for the leaf around like his private area.
Oh, it's good like, old Michelangelo's David.
That is Michelangelo's David, right? Yeah, it's getting transported to Springfield. And then there's this whole mob against it, and they come and knock at Marge's door, and they're like, "Have you heard about this? Blah, blah, you know, why? You know, aren't you gonna come and protest it?" And she's like, "Actually, no, it's a beautiful piece of art. Why would I protest it?" And it's like, but it's got full on nudity, and we don't want our kids exposed to this. And then she ends up going on a talk show again. She's asked, well, if the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon was bad because of the violence, then why is this not bad because it's got nudity? Aren't they both just bad things and we don't expose our kids to them? And then she has to concede and just be like, no, I guess you're right. I give this a pass, but I don't understand this thing, and therefore I don't give it a pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a really good way of making that distinction of, well, okay, so because this is a cartoon, you want to go and cancel it because of themes that you don't like about it. Again, this is not pedophilia or anything like that. That's completely different. But when it comes to this piece of art, which has nudity in it, which you wouldn't allow in a TV show or something like that, it's completely fine to have that up in front of everyone to look at this naked body. But then what, you can't look at but you don't want, I don't know, like,
you're talking of a more broad thing, right? Like they're
saying that in the episode, right? That's what they're trying to make that point of
but you're
censorship in art.
But you're extrapolating the sort of example of, like, you know, pedophilia is bad, like hurting women is bad, and we all agree with that. But what you're saying is that in the way that we deal with it, it has way broader implications. So what is good and what is bad.
It could open that door for what is good and what is bad.
And that's what I said. Yeah, I said earlier on as well. Like, basically, it would be opening Pandora's box.
I think we should do something. We just need to be careful about what we do. We shouldn't think it's black and white. We shouldn't think it's as black and white as, yep, that's it. Because like you said earlier, you were reacting on passion and emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
Understandable, right?
Yeah.
But we need to think a bit further ahead, because then some people could come in and jump on kind of passion and emotion and say, well, if we're going to ban, just straight up do this.
Yeah.
I don't like hip hop. I don't like drill. I don't like the stuff they're talking about. You know, someone just talked about stabbing someone in a song or something, or seeing someone get stabbed in a song, and I know a guy down the road who just got stabbed or whatever. I don't think anyone should be allowed to listen to that kind of stuff. okay, cool, yeah, these are deplorable human beings. Cut it off.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
no, you're absolutely right.
know,
Yeah, where is the
yeah,
line, basically? Well, look, the line for me personally is pretty simple. The line is our kids. Is there
yeah,
anything that couldn't be? Is there anything that you can protect them from? You can protect them from loads, but they will. The world will get in some way, right? It will be
yeah,
natural.
of course.
Like my son, 100%. Before he's 10 years old and it depresses me, he will see porn. It depresses the shit out of me.
Right, yeah.
But some kid will bring it into school, like somewhere.
Yeah.
By
yeah.
10, I must admit, I was like in my school. It was quite. I was in my teenage years when I was sort of first exposed to it. But things happen a bit earlier. It's fucking,
Sure.
it's horrible like that. But the thing is, when it comes to like promoting the music of like, I don't know, like, am I going to play my son like Slipknot or anything like that? Well, no, hell no. Like, no,
Yeah.
he's not ready for that. So why
Yeah.
would I play him a convicted rapist pedo's music?
No, I agree. I wouldn't play R. Kelly to my kids. I would.
But it
I would
comes
tell
down
them
to.
about it. Yeah, when they're older, maybe.
But the thing is, mate, the thing what we need to understand here is personal freedoms, right? So so R.
There's that
Kelly,
as well.
R. Kelly exercised his personal freedoms by doing what he did, and because of that, his personal freedoms are now being revoked from society, right?
Yeah.
Fine. Now, as an adult in society, my personal freedom and your personal freedom would be to do. We've got the information now. Now, what do we do as individuals? Because society's going to do its own thing. Because, quite frankly, like you've got Twitter for instant reactions and stuff like that, and stupidity. You've got like Twitter stan accounts of like R. Kelly and free R. Kelly and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and you're like,
for sure.
Okay, there's plenty more. There is plenty more, causes that you could get behind. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there are some hungry people in your town. Like you can arrange like a whip around and help them out or something like that, as opposed to staying on Twitter.
100%. 100%.
But it comes down to personal freedoms, right? You choose what your battles, and unfortunately, like you and I we don't have a big enough sort of reach, so to speak, to tell people, well, hang on a minute, like, maybe you should think about dealing with problems like X, Y, or Z. And also, quite frankly, who the hell are we and why should anybody else care? But like, I just find that we're just, all we can control is what we can control. And I personally will not be endorsing music from certain artists. Like,
same.
He won't know if Billie Eilish, for example, is around in like 10 years' time. I hope my son don't know who that is. I don't know any of her music, but like, you know what I mean? I have an inherent distrust of anything that's popular now because it's rubbish. Whereas like when we were young, mate, we're like, you were still in nappies, but like, I remember when, it would have been what, 94, 95, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves comes out, maybe even earlier than that. And I remember like the top 10 having like, it had Meatloaf, it had Whitney Houston in there, it had like Bryan Adams, there was, in the top 20, there were just all kinds of songs, all kinds in the top 20. And that was what was popular at the time. But now it's so homogenized that the same kind of people are making the same kind of music and the same top 10s and this and that. And you're like, that
is something that does bother me. Yeah.
And so, we've kind of fallen into, I don't know, silos of thought. And I do think that, people sort of, go on.
No, I was going to say, do you think that's happened to our world views as well? That
100%.
Those are becoming homogenized.
100%. Everything's becoming like one big globule of mess. I don't know if you've seen Annihilation.
No. I feel like you mentioned it to me before.
Yeah, I think I have. It's got Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac in it, and basically, it's too long to. It's basically too long to explain. But there is a thing in there called the shimmer, and I think that what's happening to our sort of, and I'm talking about this as a collective societal whole. What I think is happening is that all of our ideas and sort of what was it, like wants and dreams or like societal goals and things like that. We are basically in the shimmer. I used to say that we're basically in the upside down from Stranger Things. But no, I think that all of our ideas are of a society basically is in the shimmer, and it's all becoming like it's. If left for so long, it's all just going to become one thing that everybody has to subscribe to, and that's we're a step away from 1984 at that point. So
yeah. I feel that when I sometimes I'm out with like my friends or something, and it always makes me laugh. Like I'll hear them talk about someone and say, yeah, they're like this, they're like that. Oh, but he's I don't know what they'll say. He or she is either right wing or conservative, or they'll put a label on something, or he believes in this, or he thinks this. Right? It's probably worse when they say, he or she thinks this one thing. So suddenly it's like lock off. Okay, all lock off. It's like okay, do you understand why they think that way? Have they explained to you why, or have you just kind of, just locked them out just because of that one thing, or that they subscribe to this one group? I remember in my first year of uni when we had like this politics seminar or like political philosophy, and the guy was telling us about left wing, right wing, Labour, Conservative, all the different spectrums of there's like anarchist and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, nihilist, anarchist,
and like anarchist is not what people tend to think it means, right?
Anarchy is just anarchy is what, like getting rid of the government, basically.
Yeah, or like not adhering to that kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily mean going out and rioting and causing fucking...
Yeah, people think that it's like the purge. And it's like, no,
it's not.
It's just saying that get rid of the government and kind of...
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
But then there's, so then there's like conservatism. And then I don't know if, nihilism is not on the political spectrum. That's more of a philosophical kind of thing, of that nothing has any inherent meaning or whatever. So it doesn't really... It's like neither good or bad. It's just take away meaning from the equation. Where, and then there's the other part of that. But yeah, so on a political spectrum, there was all these different modes of thinking, and then there was like left wing, right wing, and then I remember the guy doing this exercise and asked me, okay, so what kind of things? If I asked you about these topics, what do you believe, or where do you sit on those? Kind of gave my answers. And then he asked someone else sitting next to me, he said, okay, so what do you think KD is? Left wing, right wing, and whatever. And he said, oh, he sounds kind of, I can't remember which one it was. If he said he sounds kind of right wing, that would have been very, very weird to hear. But he gave an answer, and then the guy said, okay, why do you think that though? Because he also stands on this issue in this particular way. And then the guy was like, you could see the visible confusion in his face, because we were only like 18 around this time.
Yeah.
So we hadn't really been thinking about this sort of thing, or we were thinking in very black and white terms. And this was starting to open up our minds. You could literally see it happening, right? That was the beautiful part about being at uni and studying this kind of thing, was that you could literally see people's minds opening, like by the looks in their
hear
eyes.
It.
Yeah, you could literally see their eyes be like, fuck, like I've never thought of that before. And he was like, oh, so then that would make him more right wing. Like, but you just said he was left wing because he adheres to this and this, but then he just gave some really good reasons for why he stands on this side, or why he's not so sure on that side. And the guy was like, you could literally see him thinking like, the fuck?
What's life?
Yeah, where is he then? What does he stand on? And he started to realize that you can't always just keep making these distinctions for people, because there's like a range, right? There's a whole range of things. And unfortunately, what I feel like I see now is that if someone doesn't stand on an issue in a certain way, they get locked off. And it's like, bruv, they stand with you on everything else. It's just this one thing. And then you haven't even then attempted to engage with them and kind of figure out, well, why do they stand in that way? They may have had different experiences to you and therefore haven't been enlightened on certain things. It might not even be an enlightening thing. Maybe you need to be enlightened on something. It's just, you don't even know if you're in the tunnel vision until someone brings you out of it.
Yeah, people don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
That's
100%.
That's why, say, artists like R. Kelly are able to exist, because people don't know. what they don't know, right? And this is why you're able to build a dynasty and all that. We didn't know. Well, we kind of did know when Aaliyah,
I wouldn't have known.
With me. That always stuck with me. I remember because when I was growing up, like we had tapes, and there was this. It was like called like New Swing or something like that. So it had Faith Evans on there, A Tribe Called Quest. Oh, actually, no, Faith Evans and A Tribe Called Quest did a song called Stressed Out. It had songs like Warren G's not Warren G, Warren something. And it's like Wayne Marshall, When I Hit Your G Spot, baby. Like tunes like that. So I remember like at the time, and it had Aaliyah's Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and this must have been 95, 96.
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that, right? And I remember hearing that song going, oh, she sounds cute. Because I was about 10, 11. I was just like, oh, she sounds nice, like whatever. Yeah. And I remember getting to about 13, 14. And then a friend of mine who was big into Aaliyah, big into R. Kelly was like, oh yeah, you know that they're sort of always seen together and this, that, and the other. And she was probably singing it for him. I was like, and then from that moment, coloured my view. Like when he brought out, oh my goodness, he brought out like that song "I Wish," didn't he? Was that on the remix album, or was it the album called "I Wish"? I can't remember. But it was like 98. R. Kelly came out, and I was like, I like a couple of tunes off there. And then he came out with Ignition. Wait, I can't remember what album was it called. Ignition, the album, 2002, 2003.
I can't remember.
Whatever that album was, right? Yeah. But I just remember it because I've got like associations of, I've got these like weird pictures in my head of where I was when I heard like these the music. Sure. So that's how I'm able to kind of jump through time. But I remember just then thinking at that point, I was like, nah, there's something about him I don't like. As much as the music is really good, like especially in Ignition remix, I really like the music. But it's when he starts singing over the top, I'm like, nah, you're wrong. Like, you're absolutely wrong. Yeah. So, I don't know, there's discernment anyway. Like, you know in your guts, basically.
Yeah.
And, like, speaking of wrong-uns, is Be Real and Sendog, are they wrong-uns?
I was actually going to ask you this. There's a nice little segue back, because fuck me, I forgot what we were talking about.
Bro, man, we are far out in the weeds.
But yeah, okay, so coming back, it's very nice of you to do that. I was actually going to ask you, because Be Real is one of those N-word dropping guys, right?
I was going to raise this earlier on. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm going to bang through these 4 final tracks.
Do it.
And then we'll talk about that.
We got 4? Yeah, we do. Yeah, so we're on Red Light Visions.
Red Light Visions, again, with the classic Indian sample at the beginning, just to really hone it in that we are stoners.
90s as fuck.
Yeah. But I love the beat when it kicks in. It's short to the point, kind of, another flexing song. Strictly hip hop, really cool track. Again, more Ice Cube shots. Like it's weird. I didn't know about this beef like that. And it's funny hearing them talk down on rappers who go into fashion when that's kind of normal now. Like that's so like normal.
But this is it. Like this is that kind of manly thing about this is where hip hop was in the 90s. It was all about being a man about stuff. Like when DMX came out, this is why I really sort of liked him, because I was like, this is a quintessentially manly rapper to sort of like look to, someone who's like not afraid to do kind of what they feel is right, not what they want to do, but what is right. Like he had morals, right? I'm not saying that Be Real and them don't necessarily have morals, but do you know what I mean? Like this, I think, is that kind of manliness that the 90s had that kind of evaporated by these days. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, that's interesting though, because, because like we've got like a big fashion link with hip hop now, which actually I think was around in the 90s as well. Just now it's just, I think maybe it's a different type of fashion, and that's what gets people all up in arms, because you have like Kid Cudi coming out wearing a dress and Young Thug and stuff doing that as well. And in my opinion, I'm just like, who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like clothes are just clothes. There's no real inherent
wealth
gender attached to them.
Yes.
It's just a piece of clothing. Really
so, right. This is a bone of contention with my wife that she always has, right? I am always one of those. I'll explain it, I think, in later episodes, or maybe when we start doing just like random conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've always had this worldview that I would trade absolutely everything that I have for one thing that I desire. But I'll elaborate more like in the future. Like we can signpost this bit, but that one thing that I desire is it basically can't be bought, and it's always put a certain level of worldly understanding, right? So what I mean by that is I don't care about clothes, status, money, all of that. And I think there's an element of freedom like that. But my wife she's a lady. She likes to look good. And she's cute, man. My wife is, she's fit. Love her to bits, right? And she looks like when she went out to earlier on today, I was like, my goodness, girl, you're gorgeous. And she looked at me and she was like, I wish I could say this. No word of a lie. She said, she said,
you're there.
She said, I love you, but you're a mess. And the thing is, I don't look that bad, right? I'm in jeans, I'm in a hoodie right now. Right. But this is how I dress. I don't really care about like things
going beyond
like that,
right?
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that, I think there comes a certain type of freedom when you don't give a crap about worldly stuff like that. There's much more wealth to your character, like in your university lecture or seminar, sorry. When you were sort of exposed as the next Boris Johnson, as a right leaning dude, the guy who was asked to assess you was kind of like, oh, mind blown. There's more wealth than just.
I'm not a right leaning guy, by the way, just in case anyone misconstrued that conversation.
Kill all the immigrants? Oh my God, KD! Oh my goodness.
Only certain one. No, I'm joking.
Oh my gosh.
I'm joking.
KD doesn't like Afghanis. Oh, shit. No. You heard it here first. Hot takes.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, because I just I feel like a lot of these old school 90s rappers must have fucking heart attacks daily, just looking at the scene right now and being up in arms about a man wearing a piece of clothing. Like, who really gives a shit? If the guy can rap well, why are you pressed?
So, all right, I even tweeted about it a few weeks ago, right? Just based on his aesthetic alone, I've only seen pictures of this guy. I've never listened to any of his music. Little Uzi Vert, can't get behind him. I'll never listen. I can't get behind him. People, like my sister said to me, oh, he's pretty good. He's decent. I'm like, I can't. Because of the aesthetic, like wearing dresses and all of that, like some of the pictures that you see him posting, I'm like, I am not listening to that. Like that does nothing to me. And that's bad. I'm judging a book by its cover. Like, I'm terrible, I know. But no. If it's somebody like Mick Jenkins or something like that, he's got a normal aesthetic. He just rocks up like in shorts and a t-shirt and he just spits on the mic. Yeah, cool.
Fair enough. Andre 3000. People forget that Andre 3000 did this already. He was already wearing dresses and doing that fashion shit.
I don't think he did dresses though.
You literally find a picture of him doing that.
Fuck's sake, really? Shit.
Yeah, but who cares? Because it's Andre 3000. He's
but
Outkast is from the 90s. And
I was never really big into Andre 3000 on his own. I liked them as a duo.
Still, he's part of the duo though.
Yeah, but he's a top class rapper. I'm not taking that away.
I'm talking about people in general though, right? They kind of forget, especially when I see it on Twitter. They kind of forget, especially these old school hip hop artists.
Yeah, for real. It's always been that way though, right? Like there's always been like the weird. You've always had the strange dressing people anyway. Yeah, I forgot. Can't believe I forgot about Andre 3000.
Yeah, like it's just. I'm kind of glad we live in a world with people. Actually, there are men out there who do not give a shit if a man decides, I want to wear a dress. It's like, okay, cool. You do you. I'm not going to wear a dress. I don't think it suits me. I don't really care about it.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, nah, you gotta be like, you can't then, like turn around and be like, yeah, man, I was there banging this chick, and then I shot this motherfucker in the face, and you know what I mean? I'm a gangbanger, motherfucker. I can't take you seriously. You're in a dress. You serious? I don't know whether to punch you or slap you. What are you talking about? You ain't credible.
But then I can ask, does that make a woman less credible if they're wearing a dress? Where does the credibility lie? The dress?
Oh shit! Yeah, but this is the thing. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to talk. Like this is like I know that I'm judging a book. Like I am not meant to judge people. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah.
But there is something that prohibits me from following this person.
Yeah,
I'm not from the fucking 50s, bro.
I never said that. I never said that.
Oh, you're from it.
No, but you are like you're talking about. Oh yeah, I remember in '94 or '95, and I'm like, bro, I was like born in '94. So you are from, you grew up in a different time. I grew up in the 2000s. You grew up in the '90s, and there is quite a bit of distinction there because there's certain things that I have had to unlearn.
Sure.
From growing up, and also growing up in an immigrant family as well, which just further exacerbated some of this shit, right?
But this is the thing, the cultural impact, right? Because I'm third generation West Indian, and some of my sensibilities and my ideas of, like, say, manliness, for example, that comes from the role models that I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I know what it is to be a man about my shit, and in that, wearing a dress does not feature. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I remember there was one time, right? My brother Alex and we went off to like a family party. And actually, we rocked up separately. Anyway, I come in, Alex comes in, and we're saying to our Uncle Ken greets us. Uncle Ken's just like, "Hey, David, how you doing, boy? Like, how you doing?" And anyway, he turns to Alex, shakes Alex's hand, gives him a big hug, and he looks at him and he goes, "Man don't have nails." My brother had just grown he hadn't cut his nails.
Oh, he hadn't done it. He just grown it.
He just grown them like a couple of weeks or something. He's like, "Man don't have nails," and that's what I'm dealing with.
Well, to be fair, it's so weird, right? When you look back on it, because I mean, I had that once with my dad saying, "Oh yeah, men have like money clips or whatever, we don't need or like wallets or something, we don't have I remember that distinction or something, I can't remember what it was, or like, oh, we don't need like a purse kind of thing." And I was like, so wait, what constitutes a purse? Like, if I have a wallet somewhere that I keep my stuff, like, it always felt like you had to have the simplest version of something possible. That was the manliest one, right? If it has any pockets or extensions or anything that makes your life actually a bit more convenient, it's not manly, man. Nah, it's just not manly enough. It's too extra. And what are you, gay? Are you a woman? And it's like, it's so weird that even now I just think the thought comes into my head, and then I have to like kind of brush it away. It's like a little annoying, pesky kind of thought that's stuck in the back of my head still from childhood that will come up when I see something or hear something, and then I have to remember, like, no, that doesn't hold any weight anymore, and then just push it to the back again.
Yeah, true. Like, we are a product of our zeitgeist, so it's quite funny that I think I've mentioned it before, right, bro?
Like your zeitgeist was like decades ago, right?
Yeah, fucking. Considering I'm still in my 30s, right? I've lived in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2000. I've lived in 4 decades, and I'm in my 30s. Shit,
yeah, actually, it's true.
It's flipping crazy. Time's crazy. Anyway, right? Like, yeah, no. I do understand that my sensibilities are slightly like different, like, to yours, but you are a product of your time. There was a real, like, of course. I feel like there was a like last bastion of like kind of men understanding what men do, but also like there was this great, like, Frank Bruno is a personal hero, or I think I've said it before, but he ushered in men talking about mental health, especially for me, because I was a very, I for a lot of my early life, like, I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know that I could talk about it. I couldn't really understand it, really. But when Frank Bruno, the biggest, tallest man that you've seen, like, a giant man, and he's saying, "Yeah, I find it really hard. I struggle," and that stuck with me forever after that. And I think that you could be manly, but you are also vulnerable because you are a human being. And
you're a human being before you're a man.
Correct, right? Correct.
Yeah.
And that's, I do understand that, maybe I'm a bit Old Testament, emphasis on the old, when it comes to certain sensibilities, like the whole like dress wearing thing. Like for me, I can't get past it. I don't apologize for it. I just can't. I'm a product of my environment.
But what do you not get past? Like,
oh, sorry. So, what do I not get past? I don't find.
I can't listen to an artist if they were a man, they were wearing a dress, for example.
Well, like the picture that I have of like Little Uzi Vert, like it's in my head forever, and I don't think I can take him as a credible artist. And for me, I know I'm not meant to judge and all of that stuff, but my soul is just kind of like, nah, you don't, you don't need that. And I know that's closed-minded. I do.
Fair enough. I was going to say, what if MJ wore a dress? And I mean, to be honest, it would suit him because he was basically like he had kind of feminine features and long hair and stuff. So
he was the only black boy that turned into a tall white woman. So, so a dress would suit him.
Yeah. But I mean, it wouldn't take away the fact that he could sing the way he could.
No, it wouldn't. No, but this is the thing. Lil Uzi Vert might be a great rapper. I don't think he is, but
he's all right.
I wouldn't know, but it was the aesthetic, the whole like diamond in the center of his head and things like that, the gimmicks and stuff. And also, like, I actually managed to catch some of his Instagrams and that, and some of them were like really, really disturbing and weird. And I was like, I can't get behind it. I don't follow him on there. Oh, so a friend of mine forwarded it to me, and he was just like, it was just one where he said, "Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you lot. And guess what? You're coming to hell right with me, you dummies." He said that on Instagram Live.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
And I remember seeing that going, I don't like this guy. I don't like he.
Yeah, stuff like that would probably put me off. But it depends again. It depends. It's like with 6ix9ine, like his whole vibe just put me off in general. It wasn't because of the tattoos or the dreads and the long hair. Like people would always bring up these things. Like, oh, the multicolored hair and the dreads and the tats. And
if he could rap.
The guy's just, I mean, this guy can, like, at the base ability, he could keep on beat, right?
He's insufferable.
But I hate his music.
Yeah.
But also, I dislike him.
Yes.
But it's not because of the face tats and the fucking dreads and colored hair. I don't know why people bring up those things. I'm like, who gives a shit about that sort of stuff? Like, why can't you just let people kind of dress and look how they want to, right? Who gives a shit? But if they're assholes, that's different. That's not what's being shown on the surface. That's who they are as people. That's what you don't like, right? Because
correct, yeah.
Kendrick Lamar could come out with fucking dyed hair, face tats everywhere, and he still could make Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly.
He would, but he's got like that in the bank, I guess. Like if he wanted to kind of come out and start wearing dresses, he's got that in the bank. But I suppose it wouldn't necessarily matter if he was actually, there is a distinction, I guess. Maybe it's just because of Little Uzi Vert's face that I'm like, no, I don't like. Maybe the dress thing is maybe that's one reason. Maybe it's the overall aesthetic because of what I know. But no, I think if Kendrick Lamar was wearing a dress like throughout everything and still came out with like bangers, then it would make sense. I guess.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. If he was doing that.
I don't know then. Oh, you've just undone my... I don't know.
When I really deep it, really, who gives a shit? Like, I heard someone say once, oh, girls wear pink and boys wear blue. That's just how it should be, or whatever. Or boys just shouldn't wear pink. I was like, based on what, bruv?
The greatest wrestler that ever lived, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Bret Hart. He wore pink. Just saying it.
Cool. So, and what's pink? It's a color. Okay. What out there in nature has said? Oh, sorry, bro. This is for people who identify as women. That's it.
So butterflies are for women, and the sky is for men. Oh,
yeah, the sky is for men.
That's called patriarchy.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Mate, look, dude.
Yeah.
Let's rein it in. I'm so sorry.
Okay, cool. No, this is. I wasn't expecting this. I
thought we'd be done in an hour.
Yeah, because we were going through it quite quickly.
Yeah, I
And
thought,
then,
oh, how are we going to fill this? And now we've spoken about some really heavy
yeah,
topics, though.
I know it's been
And
great.
you've undone you've pretty much tried to undo a bias that I've had. It was, but I don't know why it was only Little Uzi Vert that I'm just so particular. Like there's
I
something
just
in
think
me
you
that
don't like him
I
in
think
general.
that's what it is. I think like
Your
I
mind
think
might be latching on to the other things to try
certain
and,
things, yeah.
because that's what it happened. That does happen,
It's
right?
confirmation bias. That's what it is. It's just like I don't
Yeah,
like him. I don't know why. I'll find little sticks to beat him with. Like he put a diamond in his head. He wears a dress. He's done the. Maybe that's what it is.
it can be. Yeah,
Who
people do
knows?
that all the time. People do that all the time when something bothers them. You tend to hear them say, "Yeah, well, this is not going right, and this is not happening. This is not happening." And then when they calm down and when you talk to them one on one and you get them on your level, you let them trust you and open up. And it was actually something else that was bothering them, and they were just lashing out on really easy targets,
Correct.
really easy things.
Yeah, maybe
And
that's
sometimes that can be. So I think a lot of old hip hop heads just really miss that era of music, and therefore latch on to. I think people do that in general. They get very nostalgic, and they just miss their childhoods, and they just miss their kind of their what they would call their prime years, and therefore that comes out, that manifests as them lashing onto what the current generation has. And sometimes I find myself doing it without realizing it. I'm like, man, music came out at a slower pace back then. It was cool, and people were doing this, and people were doing that, and
it was more of an event, though. When DMX, for example, came out, bro, or when Eminem came out with an album, it was an event. Yeah. When Scarface came out with the score, I remember that bit. I hadn't heard him before that. That was my entry into Scarface. I remember that dropping. Nas's Illmatic, an event. Busta Rhymes, listen, Busta Rhymes dropping anything at them times, like Missy Elliott. Like it was really an event. Whereas music, we're so oversubscribed with music. We got great indie bands, for example. We've got great underground hip hop artists. They're just cropping up all over the place.
Yeah, and it's constant, right?
And it's not even every Friday. It's every single day. There is somebody dropping absolute solid gold bars somewhere.
Yeah.
How can you keep up? And you only it's only so many people that can kind of rise to the top and keep their head above everybody else, But
for sure. It's funny though, because my cousins and stuff, my younger cousins, it is an event to them when they have their favorite artists that come out, and then it's like it puts it into perspective. Like, oh, okay, so maybe. I mean, I do think there have been changes in the way things are now, which are just factually different. But there were probably people my age back then saying similar stuff about the things that I was finding
correct,
event worthy and really powerful, and like, oh man, this is just so cool and mind blowing. To them, it's like they're hearkening back to a different time that they wish was there, and then they lash out on our generation or whatever. I think that's just what people tend to do.
It's just a condition of humanity, I think.
Yeah.
We kind of miss. Yeah, we do. Prime years is the thing. We miss that.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been feeling that a lot, like recently as well. Because
bro, you're in your prime.
No, I miss like the music discovery part. Because for me, I just sometimes I get so overwhelmed. I start to feel a bit flat about music coming out or like new music, and I'm just like, and I feel like I have to actively slow down my kind of list and tell myself, look, you don't need to keep up with stuff. Maybe it's okay to just kind of just let it happen when it happens. Maybe actually let go a little bit. Sometimes I feel like listening to the radio and just having someone else kind of tell me what's going on right now, and not diving into every album and artist all the time.
Absolutely.
I'm like, fuck, is this what it feels like?
Yeah, no, because to be honest, mate, you're under a tidal wave all the time. You're under a tidal wave of new music, and I personally, I listen to the albums that we do on this show, and maybe I'll squeeze in another album like per week.
Sure.
I used to make it a mandate of mine to listen to a new album every day, like Monday to Friday. So that'd be 5 new albums a week, like every week. And I did that for years. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm not actually enjoying. I'm not listening. I'm not taking
I'm
it
just
in.
listening for this. Yeah, I'm just doing
doing
it
it because it's like a habit. And so
Yeah.
I've actually
I
stopped doing
realised
that
too.
myself. And I'm like, okay, no, it's cool. Like, I've got a pretty varied like approach to music.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let whatever find me. And you know, like Chris, friend of the show, he's always like the other day I tweeted that I'd found like some song. I was like, oh my gosh, this artist is actually really, really cool. And he's like, yeah, man, you need to like check out this, that, and the other. I'm like,
I saw that.
It's like the musical Encyclopedia Britannica. This guy knows.
I saw that play out. I was like, I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
I was like, can't a man enjoy anything? I just discovered something. And he's just like, yeah, man, you need to check this and the other out. I'm like, you're amazing. Like, how do you do it? But he's the Rain Man of music. He's unreal. Right. If anybody should have done the show, it was him. Just the Chris exchange.
Just the Chris exchange, and we just sit here and listen.
Yeah, we're just like, please drop knowledge bombs. But anyway,
let's bang out the final two tracks.
Let's do
it. Let It Rain, cool track, nothing too special, not too big fan of the beat. It's okay. Can't tell if that snare is meant to like emulate a little gunshot sound in the back or if it's just loud reverby. I don't know. But there's nothing really to deep dive into. But that's the last song on the album. Everybody Must Get Stoned is the bonus track, but I think this beat fucking goes, like it knocks. Like it sounds just like the rest of the track list and fits the sound. I don't know why it's a bonus track. I think it should have just been part of the thing. I don't know why it's a bonus necessarily.
It's amazing. I love that shit.
Yeah, it's such a good. But yeah, overall, this was a good album to listen to. Whether it will come up in rotation again, I think there will be songs that will. As a whole album, I don't know. Especially nowadays, you know, only certain kind of albums that really, really hit now. I feel like we just talked about. Now it's like the level. What's the word? The threshold. So much higher now. Where it's like, you know, I'm still an advocate for listening to something or experiencing something, you know, a few times to let it sink in and living with something before forming a strong opinion. Especially with albums, like living with the album and playing it in the car, playing it as you go about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Not just sit there, listen, critique. Yep, this is it. Give a number score, move on. What's the point? You know, I'm not rating it unless I'm getting paid to rate something professionally. And why would I do that? It's meant to be an accessory to my life, or in service of, I don't know what the right term is, but yeah. So this kind of album is something that definitely caught my ear, and I enjoyed listening to it. And knowing that I had to listen to it for this episode, it was like, okay, sick. Go back and listen to it. Had I come across this album myself, it may have maybe taken a while for it to come back up again to like in rotation.
Definitely.
You know, I might have picked out a few songs, but I would have left thinking that was a good album. But is it like add to the collection worthy? Don't know right now. Maybe in the future. Maybe it will hit again. I'll be like, you know, it hit for me right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happens. It happens all the time.
I do think you might come back to it. I think there are certain songs. There is a certain song that I alluded to in the last episode, which is it. Ever since I heard it, it's never come out of any playlist that I've ever had. Boom Biddy Bye Bye.
Boom Biddy Bye Bye. Yeah. As soon as I asked that, I knew which one it was.
It is hands down, like it's my standout track on the album. I don't know why. It's just the xylophone and the bass line. It's so. This is the thing about Cypress Hill. The music is so simple, and when it hits you, especially on Killer Hill, like track number 5, the beginning of that, I forgot that song existed. Right, so when I was listening to it back, I must have wheeled up the first 30 seconds about 10 times because it's got that kind of like old school violin, like almost that 60s sort of violin. It's got like this one wailing guitar note that's like pinched, and then you've got like this wicked bass line and this driving like just cool drums, and then you've got somebody, I think it's Zen Dog, like whoever's on the DJ scratching, probably RZA, you know, it's like yeah, just all the way through. I just love it, and the music here is top draw. Sorry, anyway.
That's cool, man. I mean, we didn't discuss the whole N-word thing. But,
right, let me just bring it up. Be real. Cuban father, Mexican mother. No black near him. the thing is, if you say something enough, then maybe you get away with it.
Right.
However, I let that slide when I was like younger because I was young and I was just like, well, he's got the pass, man. It's fine. Now that I'm older, I'm like, Sen Dog should be saying that. Not be real, like, nah. Yeah. Be real and don't say that, like, for real. So, anyway.
I was going to say, I was wondering if you made a distinction between him and Fat Joe, because you always bring out Fat Joe.
No, that's the thing. I'd be a complete hypocrite, like, if I, I denigrate Fat Joe and Tekashi 6ix9ine, and then I let Be Real have a pass. I'm like, nah, actually, like, and that, it really hit me this time.
Sure.
Especially on Boom Biddy Bye Bye, for some reason, I was listening to it because I know it's always in my playlist, but I actually skip past it because I'm like, I've heard it a million times, right?
Oh, sure.
But when I was listening to it, and when he was saying it, I was like, actually, I don't think it's right, mate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, as we said in one of our earlier episodes, only black people can say it. That's it. That's the rules.
That's on that.
What did you think about it? I think it's time to end this episode.
I just thought I'm going to leave it to David to discuss that.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I find it weird, but
it suits the aesthetic, though. That's the thing.
I find it much weirder if it was a newer artist, I think, because it's like, okay, you should know better by now. I feel like, I think I'm so used to it from the older artists that you kind of just let it happen. You're like, oh, okay. It's only once you really think about it, you're like, oh shit, yeah. Wait, how comes you? I always wondered why Fat Joe could say it.
It just makes me want to punch him in the mouth, though. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, Fat Joe can probably handle his business and would kill me because he's like the Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. Every time he says it, maybe it's the way that he says it that I just Be Real. Right? I could like imagine myself like talking to Be Real and being like, yeah, man, like he sounds pretty cool. But not Fat Joe just annoys me. Maybe it's him. And Tekashi 6ix9ine, it could be him. And maybe it was maybe because I'm so used to hearing it from Be Real, like I've just let it slide. But it doesn't really age very well. I don't think that it's it's great. Yeah. All
right. If you've been rocking with us for this long, thank you very much. Because my rating for this album, I would give this for now a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
I think 7.5.
Yeah, I thought you'd go there.
Yeah, really enjoyable album to listen to. Will I come back to it? I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's not hitting in that sense. It's just like, oh, okay, I found some good new kind of hip hop from that kind of era. And it's great for a group that I've wanted to kind of get into. Again, this was like a good kind of way to dive into that. But it's not really going to come up in rotation.
Fair enough.
I don't think, at least in the near future. But my top 5, that's not to take away from how good the album is. I think it is a solid hip-hop album. Top 5, Spark Another Owl, Illusions, Boom Biddy Bye Bye, Funk Freakers, and the last song, Everybody Must Get Stoned.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So that's that.
Amazing. So what album are you giving me next week?
I think I will give you... Let me double check the list to make sure. I think I will give you... Let's go for ASAP Rocky, because we mentioned him in this episode.
ASAP Rocky. I do admit I have listened to an ASAP Rocky album. I can't remember which one, though. I think it was... Yeah, go on. Which album?
I'm giving you his second album, At Long Last ASAP.
Yeah, I've heard the first one. I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one was like 2014, right?
2013.
There you go. Yeah. I remember exactly. I was working for the Home Office, actually, and that's why. And I saw like ASAP Rocky on the poster.
Okay.
Under an archway of a bridge in London, and and then I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll listen to him. So I listened to the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I kind of know what I'm going to be expecting then. In that case,
yeah, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on him, and his kind of style and his sound and all that sort of stuff. This album's from 2015, so he's much more in his kind of.
See, I didn't really like the. I didn't like the first album that much because
that's interesting. Then. I'm interested to hear what you think of this one. Then.
Okay, cool. I'll go back and revisit both.
Yeah, you can do that because actually I wasn't too big a fan of the first one either. Apart from a few songs that I definitely picked out, and I still listen to today. But as a whole, I never came back to it much. But this one, I'm interested to talk about this one. So yeah, A$AP Rocky, At Long Last A$AP.
Way right. Let me do my thing, and then we can get out of here.
I can have my breakfast. Yes.
Oh yes, right. Okay, so if you have been with us for this long, because this is a mammoth episode, thank you so much. Blessings to you and your family and everybody that you care about. I hope you're all doing well, and if you're not doing well, I hope you're speaking to somebody about it. Do not suffer in silence. Even if you want to reach out to two people who are still figuring out life, us, just hit us on the socials, man. We're all we got. And yeah, man. And ladies, thank you so much. We will be in touch next episode with A$AP Rocky and whatever album KD said. Cool. Peace. And we nailed that one.